Welcome to episode 4 of the option series, where we are covering the Put Call Parity. So let's get started. The concept of the Put Call Parity outlines that there is a relationship between the value of a European call and put option when they have the same strike price. The theory works by creating two hypothetical portfolios, one with a call option and a risk-free bond, known as a fiduciary call, and another with a put option and the underlying asset, known as a protective put. The put call parity states that these two portfolios have the same value. So if we have the value of the call option, we can determine the value of the put option. But let's explain why this is the case. Let's start with the fiduciary call. The fiduciary call has a call option and a risk-free bond. The value of the bond must equal the strike price at expiry. So the value at the beginning would be the strike price discounted to present value using the risk-free rate. The reason the discount is to the minus T rather than T is because we are dividing rather than multiplying the strike price to get the value at the start. We now will look at the payout for each instrument at expiry. We will be plotting charts where we can visualize the relationship between the value of the instrument and the underlying asset price at expiry. Let's look at the payout of the call option at expiry. We plot the payout of the option at different values of the underlying at expiry. If the price of the underlying is less than the strike price, the option expires worthless. However, if the underlying price at expiry is higher than the strike price, the payout or value will equal the difference between the underlying price and the strike price. The more in the money the call option is, the larger the final payout. Let's move on to the bond. The value is independent to the change in the value of the underlying. So the value of the bond will equal the strike price no matter what the price of the underlying is when the call option expires. We can now plot the value of the fiduciary call when combining these two instruments. It can be seen that the portfolio value will equal the bond price if the underlying asset price is under the strike price. However, the portfolio value will increase if the asset price is larger than the strike price, as the call option is in the money. Let's move on to the protective put. A protective put is a portfolio that contains a put option and the underlying asset. Let's start by looking at the value of the put option, based on the value of the underlying asset at expiry. With a put option, the maximum payout is when the underlying is worthless, with the payout decreasing the closer the underlying asset price is to the strike price. Once the value of the underlying asset is larger than the strike price, the put option becomes worthless. Next is holding the underlying asset. For this case, the payout will be exactly the same as the value of the asset, given that they are the same. We can now plot the value of the protective put when combining the two instruments. It can be seen that when the underlying asset value is low, the put option has the most value. Therefore, the combination of the put option and the underlying equals the strike price during the whole period when the put option is in the money. Once the underlying asset price is above the strike price, the put option is worthless, so the portfolio value just equals the value of the underlying asset. Now let's show both the value charts for the fiduciary call and protective put next to each other. It can be observed that no matter what the final value is of the underlying asset, the payout for the two portfolios is exactly the same. Therefore, the value of the fiduciary call will equal the value of the protective put. We then can rearrange the formula by subtracting the risk-free bond from both sides of the equation. This gives a final equation to derive the value of the call option. In this case, if you have the value of the put option, you can derive the value of the call option by using the underlying asset price and the value of a risk-free bond. This formula can also be rearranged to derive the value of the put option. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope this has brought more clarity on what the put call parity is. Please feel free to like, subscribe and watch the other videos in this series. That is bye for now.